as we are in 2003 looking at the appropriations, I note that in the Parliament at that time, Madam President, we had 4 elected members on the other side, plus 2 nominated members on their side, plus Senator Nolan. So you practically had 7 to 1, Madam President. It was easy at that time to pass these appropriation warrants. And so it continues to trouble me that what should have been very routine, mundane, has fallen to us on this side to do. And this is after we would have heard all of the discussions about a fiscally prudent and caring government. Very prudent, but not with our money, not with the money of the country. Because you're talking here about almost $12 million, Madam President. And even as we heard about all of those expenditure, including the $800,000 for secession, we still have the troubling questions. Since secession was so important, why didn't the government budget for secession? Why didn't they budget for the $2 million for the servicing of the Royal Merchant Bank debt, warrant number 18 of 2003? And again, we see coming up David Lashley. Lashley had done a lot of work in this country at that time on the ports, both at Long Point and in Charlestown, but there were no figures included for him. Because when you tallied all of those figures, Madam President, again you run the risk of producing a deficit budget. National piling still comes in for another $5 million. And when you look at the appropriation warrants, national piling comes up again and again and again. And when I did the totals, maybe an isolated $5 million, big as it is, might escape. But when you do the totals for national piling, when I added them, I got $16,650,000 for the years 2002, 2003, which we are debating, 2004 and 2005 that will come next. So when you get $16,650,000 in appropriation warrants, and you notice the recurring name of one company, it says to me that it is very clear that the government of the day chose the route of appropriation warrants to pay bills. It is very clear. That is troubling because remember that the instructions are that the expenditure should be unforeseen, and that those expenditures should be regularized as soon as is practicable. So when you look at those, Madam President, they do not fit the bill of unanticipated work. But if they had been included in the budget again, you run the risk of busting the budget. I said to you, Madam President, that it was clearly a trick which was used by the previous administration to mask expenditure. And it reminds me, you know, one day I was in San Juan in Puerto Rico with a friend of mine, and we were walking down the street, and we saw this fellow playing the 3-card trick. Now, I like to keep my money buttoned down. I don't like to gamble. But he felt he knew where the ace of hearts was. And I saw him lose about $100 on the 3-card trick. Well, here in this 3-card trick in 2003, the people of Nevis lost $11 million. May it please you, Madam President.